We are going to start the Photoshop for photographers, but before we get started, I just wanted to mention a couple things. We're going to be doing some more advanced stuff in Photoshop, and I just wanted to say that some of my most successful students in art and design don't feel intimidated by the software. So you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay, but that's the cool thing about Photoshop is there's always Command Z if you screw up. So just keep that in mind. The other thing I wanted to mention was that we can compare Photoshop, using Photoshop on photographs as using spices in a meal. The best dishes, we don't really detect what exactly the chef used. So I'm going to mention that you shouldn't over spice your photographs. So Photoshop is a great tool, but we want to make our job is really to make it look like we didn't even use it at all. Okay, so to get started, I'm going to go to the digital server and I'm going to go to our photo folder and I'm going to copy and paste the Photoshop for portraits onto our desktop. After it's done copying the images, I'm going to rename this, adding my first and last name at the beginning to make sure that nobody steals my imagery. Okay, so the first one we're going to get started with is called Whitening Teeth. So I'm going to double click that. It's already a Photoshop file and it should open in Photoshop. So for this one, I'm going to go to my layers. I'm going to go to my black and white cookie, which we all know is just an adjustment layer. And I'm going to add one that's called Hue Saturation. In this palette, you'll notice this little guy right here. This is called the touch icon. So I'm going to select it and it automatically detects what color you're selecting based on your selection. So I'm going to select her teeth and automatically it changes to yellow. So if I take the saturation slider and I decrease it, notice that it's getting rid of the saturation of her teeth, but notice it's getting rid of the yellow in all of the image, and I just want to remove it just from her teeth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my hue saturation mask, and notice that it's a mask, so everything that's white is affected, and so I'm going to invert this. So if I actually hold down Command I, it inverts the mask, and now we see that it's yellow again. However, I'm going to go to my brush, and I'm going to change it to white over here. If you don't have that option to switch, you could double click and then pick white. And then I'm going to decrease my brush size with my left bracket, and then I'm going to brush over her teeth, and notice that it's getting rid of the yellow. Now, like I said earlier, we don't want to get rid of all the yellow because that would be really unnatural. And so now we can turn the eyeball on and off, and we can see that it's just removing just a little bit of yellow in her teeth, and that's it. File, save.